Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Happy Saturday to you. Wonderful weekend. We're just going to do a quick little analysis on Bitcoin, of course, get a foundation of understanding leading into the weekend what's going on here, and kind of go from there. Keep in mind, general premise or preface rather for a weekend is a simple fact that it's a weekend. You don't generally want to trade into a weekend considering the volatility and lack of volumes. Things move a lot faster and quicker than usual, which sounds kind of odd because we're kind of going sideways right now. It's kind of just a boring day, for example. But things can move pretty quick when they do. So just friendly advice, be careful trading on weekends. I generally don't recommend it, but at this point we're going to look at a few key factors here and kind of pay attention to our overall situation. We want to focus on a couple of things. First of all, Bitcoin making me out to be a liar had a nice little push up there to that very last little liquidation sweep. Okay, so if we pull up our most recent, my most recent playout chart here for Bitcoin, right? Expecting the price to come down, still looking bullish, right? If you caught that video, you'll realize that we had 77,000 as a heavy concentration of liquidation. There was like a few $1 billion left remaining at that level. What do you know? Market makers did what they do best. They sweep that last level of shorts, and then the price pulls back. The reason why that's good is because that's going to help us in the sense that there's less momentum or less potential for further upside because that level's been swept. And we're going to take a look at some new levels here too. We'll just kind of get perspective there. But I just want to say, congrats to those who are shorting at 76,900. It's hard to say. I have difficulty saying the 70,000 range. Still getting used to it, but we're short at 76.9. Just to give you perspective. So again, that little liquidation sweep was awesome. It got everyone else in our community a good fill at that level, and now we're moving on to our take profit target in the low 75K range. And as I discussed previously, based on previous fibs, we're going to have to update these since we had a candlestick closure a little bit higher. We can see this lower range of roughly 73 to 73.5 is that next key area of support based on Fibonacci retracement. Then of course, really close here, I'm rounding up, 75,000 is that next level of potential support at that 0.786 fib level. I don't put a lot of emphasis on 0.786 fib just because it's a little less consistent. It's my personal opinion. I prefer to utilize the 0.5, 0.386, and 0.618. Those are basically the middlemost areas of retracement. So it would make sense for Bitcoin to come down to the 73 to 74K range, just as a kind of a overall sense of what's going on. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. Is that going to happen today? Maybe, maybe not. I think the probability is lower just because weekends, once again, are a little funky, so I don't try to trade into them, even though it sounds contradictory because we took true trades earlier in the week on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, and we're in profit on both of those, Solana and Bitcoin shorts. And I'll explain why we took those trades. If you didn't catch my videos, it's pretty straightforward. We basically waited for that extra area of liquidation to occur, which is this guy right here. And then, of course, there was this little layer here, about 77,000. Once that took place, I felt confident taking a short just because liquidation delta is way too high. Look at this now. This is insane. $14 billion in liquidation delta on Bitcoin. Basically, these are liquidation longs on Bitcoin. What that basically means is that we have $14 billion more worth of liquidation than shorts in the market right now. What do you think is going to happen with that? Do you really want to take a long into that? Does that feel like the bottom to you? It doesn't to me. It feels very much like the top. And generally speaking, when Bitcoin's liquidation delta gets 8 to 10 billion or higher, you're typically due for a correction. And one of two things needs to happen. Either we see a lot of longs get liquidated with the price pulling back, or we maintain this range for another couple of days, and we're talking weekdays, not weekends, to essentially be able to maintain this level of liquidation, and then liquidation slowly starts to taper off. Basically what we need is we need people to start securing profits on their longs, or they're going to get liquidated. That's really what it boils down to, because when these levels are too high for too long, the price will capitulate and essentially pull back, and it's generally not a great thing. So when we take a look here at our open interest, we can recognize 75, 74.3 are maybe the two heaviest concentrations. They're just going to stick with a round number. 75,000 is that point of control. When we zoom in, we'll be able to see that there's a lot of open interest in that area. Basically, this is where everyone is essentially heavy, right? 75K. So what's to prevent the price from coming down to that level and at least testing that support? That's definitely a thing we got to recognize is going to be present here. So let's take a look at the daily time frame. Work our way down, just quickly understand what's going on. And as per usual, on Monday, I'll go ahead and do a weekly recap for right now. The weekly candlestick hasn't closed yet, so I think it's a little premature to look at that. But at this point, we can kind of look at the previous daily timeframes. And I want to speak to something too, because somebody in the comments, I don't know if they're a troll or not, I got one thumbs down from yesterday's video. I'm assuming it's the same person. They said, why would you not recommend taking a trade on a Friday after 3 strong green days in the week? Well, the truth is, you're going to find a red day to follow when you have 3 strong green days. It kind of goes concurrent with that 72-hour period on TD sequential, kind of letting us know that we're in a situation where we've had 3 very strong green days. Granted, one day was the strongest, but we've had 2 extra outrageously optimistic green days. In other words, we should have stopped at this $76,000 range, but the last 2 days we've seen a little bit of greed there to that 77K range. That has to pull back, that has to come down at some point. And taking a trade on a Friday leading into a low volume, high volatility weekend just doesn't make a ton of sense from a conservative and or just logical, or more importantly, somebody that is not really super risk. When you have a lower risk tolerance, so to speak, you're not going to be taking high risk trades. And taking a risk into a weekend just doesn't make a ton of sense. So that hopefully that answers that question. If you are tuning back in, if not. It's all good, probably for the best. But regardless of this point, we're at 76,000. We can see we're over every single moving average, and keep in mind, folks, the daily time frame is still going to look very bullish. This is just very standard. This is what kind of lulls people into a false sense of security. The key takeaway here is that we're right here at that 70 mark on the RSI. So if today closes at 76,000 or lower, we're going to be basically breaking below that level, implying that if you have a long position open, you should have secured profits. Just kind of throw it out here, we secured some profits on our Bitcoin long immediately before we took our short. This is 56% on a trade we took 2 days ago. Basically, we took a long from 70,000 to 76,900. As soon as we hit that candle wick, we opened a short at 76.9. Our take profit target is 75.3. Okay, so to give you perspective, that's essentially how we traded Bitcoin based on overextension, liquidation, and the things I share with you every day. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to continue down, but obviously we're halfway to our take profit targets, and there's a strong likelihood the price is going to go down lower. Don't get me wrong, we're still in a bullish trend. There's no other way around it. Daily time frame is going to look good, but you have liquidation delta at $14 billion. Those longs are going to have a bad day soon, and it may or may not happen today. That's all good if it doesn't, but I think it's going to happen relatively soon. And I'm not talking about a monumental, a run towards 70K. I think that's pretty low probability. But when we look at some fair value gaps that are present on the charts, it's just it's pretty obvious that we're going to see some correction. So let me go ahead and do this here. Let's just talk about the 4-hour time frame. We're now diverging here on the MACD. We didn't get an MACD-FU, which is nice. Stochastic's pulling back, of course. We're now under 70 on the RSI, another earlier sign to consider securing profits. And if you look at this here, when the price action was right here at about 75 to 76K, that's roughly the range in which the RSI was coming back down, and that would have been a good take profit target as well. Okay, so the general consensus here is that we've got a lot of reasons why securing profits is good. At this point, too, we also have another reason why the price may either pivot or continue lower. Let me explain. We got the 20-day SMA here hanging out at this level about 75,900. So that's right where we're at now. And a lot of contrary to popular belief, SMAs are not support levels. They're just kind of an indication of what side of the tracks you're on, and you have multiple or less of them depending on which ones you use. Just kind of give you an indication of which way you're going, right? So we're above the 20-day SMA. We're still technically in a bullish trend here, and until we lose that, we can feel comfortable taking a long, really. Okay. So what I'm proposing here, though, is that as soon as that breaks below there, we're probably going to continue lower, is my guess. I don't think we're going to bounce off that level per se, but we are in this local point of control. We can see 76 to 77,000. We got a lot of volume, but that's going to work as a resistance for us if you stay below it. And breaking below the 20-day SMA is just kind of an identification letting us know we have shifted momentum. Okay, so just be on the lookout for that. I think we're soon to see that here. And this on a weekend generally is not a great sign. It's fairly ominous. And we do take a look at the hourly time frame here, and we look at the Ichimoku cloud. This is still confirming again a bullish trend. However, you can only test a support level or a support range for so long, right? So in this case here, while this is the very first initial test, when you break into the cloud and or break below it, that's generally construed as a no-buy zone initially. And then, of course, once it's below, like for example here, do not buy, do not buy. It breaks down here. You spend at least 2 to 4 hours underneath the cloud. That's generally construed as a short signal, or more so just absolutely you should have closed your long a long time ago. You may want to consider a short because we're losing that support, that ascending trend. The conversion line's below the baseline. That's also another signal. And then we also have, of course, the lagging span. Look at the lagging span right here. almost free and clear of the price action. This is the first sign you want to identify in order to consider taking a short position. So we're a little early because we were able to pick up on short liquidation delta being too high, liquidation levels being swept, and now we're seeing here the Ichimoku cloud is confirming that we're halfway to a short trade with confidence. Okay, so that's generally what we're looking at here. So it's not an exact science, folks. Obviously, I mean, you saw my price anticipation or prediction from yesterday. Bitcoin did not drop and continue lower. However, we still got this fair value gap remaining. It's hard to probably see on the screen, but it is here from about 75 to about 75.5. There's a strong chance that we'll get swept at the very least. We're going to take our profits, and if price continues to run, we'll leave a little skin in the game and essentially take those profits too. But the whole point here is that we're seeing some cracks in the glass, as I've discussed for the last couple of days, and there's a reason why Bitcoin shouldn't continue much higher. If it does, great, all good. You don't put all of your eggs in one basket. You don't want to open like 15 different shorts right now because of this. But this seems like a pretty significant starting point for a catalyst of the price action pulling back. Those are just things that I look for. It's not 100%, never is. I might trade 75 to 85% on average throughout the year, depending on the market. But that success rate generally comes from me looking at these things and being a little bit more risk averse and not using high leverage. Please understand this. If you utilize my trades, for example, and you're shooting 20, 40, 60x leverage every time, you're probably not going to be very successful because swing trades, in order to maintain those with the liquidation and the crazy hunts that we have with the candle wicks shooting up and down, it's like a war zone out there. And if you're using too high leverage, you're just going to be another statistic. And don't be one of these persons, right? These liquidation levels are commonly swept because they're using too high leverage, and it's just everyone has a bad day for the most part. There's going to be some good peaks and valleys, but if you're tired of feeling like super euphoric and then super down the next day because you use too high leverage or too high position size, you're probably doing it wrong. You maybe want to join our community and be part of some logical, less emotional traders, and essentially just be more consistent. So that's all available for you if you want. CryptoCash.tag of the site, link down below. Be sure to check out our, my Twitter, Telegram, or Discord. We got it all. It's all here for you to make sure that you are, in good shape there. Also, make sure you check out our Bitunix prize pool. I get the question a lot. How do I use leverage in the U.S., Canada with no KYC or VPN? Look no further. These guys are awesome. Be sure to check them out. Definitely a good opportunity there for our community. So thanks again, everyone. I deeply appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll look forward to seeing you back on Monday. Take care.